Zoom, zoom. Tim McDermott from the Cosmos.
From the apparently it's the Cosmos behind me.
Thank you so much for doing that. That's my jam.
Absolutely, no problem. At one point, I had a Zoom meeting with like a bunch of friends, and I had a Salvador Dali painting behind me, and
Oh,
it was a pretty provocative painting. And then I left it on by accident for a business Zoom meeting, and
well,
I
it's a
didn't.
lot better to look at than you. Although you see
I
that you morph a little bit into it. It sort of becomes you. It's like half you. You're. Hold on, let me start there. Boom. Something I always forget to do is start the start watch.
right.
How have you been? I haven't seen you in so long. Tim McDermott.
I know. I've been good. I've been good.
Yeah.
Trying to stay sane by not doing anything.
Oh, you mean trying to do the direct opposite of what it is I dove directly into in the absence of work?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, like
I
I
mean,
said, one of my 3 jobs I lost was being an actor. So fuck you. You know what I mean?
well, that's actually recently I've been thinking about how it's only just hitting me how we're not going to be able to do plays for a long
No.
time.
And
It like just hit me.
I had just got back into film and TV for 3 months, going really strong, and then boom, everything stops.
Oh,
So
really? I didn't know that.
yeah, so
Hey,
everything
you were
was
back in
great.
that.
Yeah, so whenever this cloud flies back over, I'm back on.
You're back in it.
So yeah, it's been wonderful. But what do you do professionally anyway? Because it's always been a little fuzzy to me, kind of, not really.
Professionally, I co-own a video production company, Jaffe Creative, and yeah, we do video, we do any type of video, but like weddings, because weddings are
What?
they're weddings exactly.
And I
So
would imagine they're pretty demanding clients. You know what I mean? They're the kind of clients you don't want to have.
oh, weddings, absolutely. I mean, I did maybe 2 weddings years ago, and it was just like it's a very long 12-hour day where it's adrenaline the whole time because you
But
think you're going to miss the most important moments.
sure, of course,
Yeah,
yeah. And you're there, and your feet hurt just as much as everyone else's. Only you don't get to put back a bunch of fucking liquor. Are you? You know?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you get
Well,
whatever's left over in the buffet, which is
but
like disgusting.
I see Paul Giamatti just drinking the Merlot out of the spit bucket.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
so you're a fellow actor. We actually met long back. I remember you're one of the state, and I'm also at one point state champion. And we were NFL Forensic League speech and debaters. And I
We were.
remember seeing you perform Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory. And I had always remembered your face. And then, cut to, I don't know, like 20 years or 15 to 20 years later, we start working together as adults acting locally.
Yeah.
So that's a cool thing. Talk about that. Tell us about, well, actually, what was the last thing we've seen you in? It hasn't been that long, but.
Last thing I did was, I think, complete works of William Shakespeare might have been the last thing that I did
With
for
New
Gaslight.
Vintage? Oh, Gaslight.
Gaslight did it. Last summer, I want to say. I don't remember. Nobody went to go see it.
That was like when I directed Wit, and it was like one of the most moving and beautiful fucking things I have ever done. And
yeah, how do you constantly find like the most dramatic, serious, heartbreaking plays to direct?
Did you see Wit?
I did not see your production of Wit. I've seen it, but I haven't seen yours.
I've always loved Wit. Mike Nichols is one of my favorite directors, and I love the way he directed the play, because it was a play first, and the way he translated it to film. I just directly stole and translated his film back onto stage.
Right.
I used his music. I used his tone. I used everything, but rightfully so.
But if you're going to steal from somebody, steal from Mike Nichols.
Yeah, I wasn't stealing. I was trying to capture the same whatever, but I will stay. I definitely used the same music for sure, straight up, because it invoked every time I heard. I'd use that music in several things. Either way, it's hard to get you to do things. Sometimes it's hard to get you in general. Or you're not even on Facebook, are you?
I'm not on Facebook. I have a fake name in order to run the business Facebook, but I don't have any friends or anything like that. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of got like, not choosy, because that sounds like I'm like real full of myself, but I just kind of started to value time a little
There's
bit more
nothing
the
wrong
older I
with
get.
that. No. These people go through moments of you need to disconnect from all your other shit so you could work on the other things that are important that you oftentimes leave off to the side or let things roll. Because I'm a guy who lets things roll off my back. Eventually it catches up with you, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So, well, with all that shit being said, fucking nonsense. I got you here for one reason and one reason. Oh my god. 5 films out of the mind of the man in the cosmos.
Right. So I didn't finish watching all the other ones, so I apologize if there are any repeats. I don't think there's going to be any repeats.
I tell everyone, I don't foresee worlds colliding.
All right.
I'll just say that. Well, because there's obvious ones that I've asked everyone to sort of stay away from, and in having done that, people sort of they dove into deeper depths, and movies have become more obscure and or meaningful for different reasons. So I don't foresee it happening, but we'll see.
I tried to do that.
This is by the way, you are episode number 10 when it comes out. You are the halfway mark now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm the moment when either people get more interested in this or less interested in watching this. So it all rests on me. Great.
Nothing need more be said about that, Tim.
Perfect. Great. Well, originally, I was making my list, and I had like Back to the Future and Indiana Jones and all those, but it's kind of like, if you haven't seen those, do you even like movies? Yeah, so I just was like, no, I'm not going to put that on there. I'm going to try to dig a little deeper.
Yeah.
So these kind of go in order. So I'm going to start like bottom to the like the number one that you should see.
So you're going to end with your top
number one movie.
Okay, so start off from the bottom.
Okay, so first one I'm going to go with, and I thought of this because you had directed me in a John Patrick Shanley play. So I thought...
Which you fucking killed.
Thanks. But I went with Joe versus the Volcano.
Wow. Wait, how does that have to do with John Patrick Shanley?
He wrote and directed that.
I had no clue.
No
clue.
So he was like hot off of, I think, Moonstruck, right? He had like the Oscar and everything.
Doubt is the play he's talking of, which I knew Doubt was written and directed by this gentleman, but I did not know that Joe versus the Volcano. Wow.
It's weird, right? He was like real hot after Moonstruck, right? And I forget what studio got behind him, but gave him a ton of money to just like write and direct whatever he wanted. And he comes up with this like bizarre fairy tale that I love this movie so much. And I feel like it doesn't get a lot of love nowadays.
Well, I think what you mentioned is very important because he had money. He had the ability to just let his mind run amok. And when it almost speaks to the time we're in now. If you allow people the time to do things, you'll see some crazy shit. And you're seeing people, some weird shit. Like Meredith, I told her, I'm like, we have TikTok issues, and I'm seeing Meredith like, or this and that, or people.
I don't know. Your TikTok stuff is pretty great, though. You nail the format. You know what you're doing.
It's going to plateau, hopefully, eventually soon. But
with the virus, it's going to plateau, and then
I think that's. But you give money to somebody who's brilliant, like John Patrick Shanley, and then he comes out with something like Joe versus the Volcano, which is something that no one else is going to pick. Tim.
Well, maybe, I don't know. I just love it because I don't think it did well in the box office. I think critics didn't like it.
You know,
that's true, yeah.
And most films don't, and especially the films we're speaking of between our age bracket. So we'll say the 80s, 90s. Back in those days, you know, you didn't see a return until the people saw it on video, and then when people started talking about it, and then like it developed a cult following.
Right, yeah.
You know, so many movies that we talk about on this show and other ones have been ones that tanked, have lost money, but have gone on to become, you know, classics.
The classics. A lot of the ones that I grew up with were like, I don't even think they were hits. I feel like my dad would go to Blockbuster, and then whatever was like the popular kids movies, he would just go to like the other side.
Yeah.
Where it was like No Name, like Tommy Tricker and the Stamp Traveler. So like I was never watching the hit movies. It was always
Yeah, he
the
wanted
other side.
to treat you to a little bit of grit and be like,
Right, yeah.
you know, you
Some
gotta
French Canadian kids
you rub
movies.
them in the mud because it builds up their immunities. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
well,
right.
it does. It really, that's the truth.
Oh,
But you know, that's very good of your father to do that, because then you end up with, well, I don't know the remaining 4 on your list, but I can only imagine where it can go from Joe versus the Volcano. But you can continue on. This is at your pace, my
oh man, I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna fly through it. I had coffee too late in the day, so now I'm just like,
Oh, it doesn't matter.
ready to fly.
Don't worry, we'll eat up time.
Right.
We'll eat that shit.
Sorry, viewers, that we're just gonna eat up your time.
No, well, I brought you on for the fact that I enjoy you and other people enjoy you. So number 4,
nice.
I think I'm gonna have a couple more tacos. I'll be right back, and then we'll do number 4. Cool.
Go for it.
I had way too many tacos. Excuse me.
There's not no such thing.
It's the truth. But go ahead. Oh, that was your other thing. That's why I had to rush you along, because my father's right now downstairs intoxicated. He had a hard day at work. He's still working.
Yeah.
And he's going to end up coming upstairs to go to bed. And that's just a fact I have to deal with. And it's just going to happen. So I want to get this done before that happens. That's right. Number 4, Tim.
Number 4. Okay. So this one means a lot to me. I'll get to it. So I picked Do the Right Thing by Spike Lee.
Nice. But go ahead.
You met Spike Lee?
I worked on a pilot called Shark, when I met James Woods. James Woods starred in this show called Shark, and I don't know if it ever became a TV show, if it ever went to air, but I worked on an episode of the pilot. I met Spike Lee and James Woods.
Amazing.
For birthday with. But go ahead, Do the Right Thing. Great movie.
Nice.
Awesome pick too.
It's a great movie, and I just watched it again. I've seen it a bunch of times, but I just watched it again. I don't know, a couple months ago, and it's still just as funny. It's still just as endearing, and it's like sadly still relevant.
Well, that's the beauty of it.
It was sad to see how relevant it was.
Yeah.
The ending, which I don't want to give away if anybody hasn't seen it, but like.
And that movie didn't come out that long ago. You know, what was it? Late 80s, early 90s?
89, I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not like that is, well, if that's an old movie, then that means I'm old, and I'm not old. So it's not that long ago. It's still within the breadth of the things we're seeing today. And of course, it takes a long time for people to fucking brighten up and wisen up. But Spike Lee, I think I'll have to say this: Spike Lee rode the wave of that movie for his entire life, and has never ever achieved any more success after that.
I think I agree. I think Do the Right Thing's probably the best one. I did like Bamboozled.
But Do the Right Thing is very good.
Do the Right Thing's one it's the best one. And it
made him Spike Lee.
It made him Spike Lee, and it like cemented. I mean, think about the people who were in that movie. You had Danny Aiello, you had Giancarlo Esposito, like all these people right at like kind of their beginning. John Turturro. It's insane to think about. And so that movie, it was so I was in film school, and first year film school, everyone has to watch in like the big auditorium the film school movies, like the Battleship Potemkin and like the boring stuff, right? And I would fall asleep through all the movies. And then the one day we watched Do the Right Thing, and it was the first one that I stayed awake through. So from then on, I was like, this movie has to be special if I'm staying awake during it.
That was in the mix of those movies, because I think culturally, it's still one of those movies where it's a really great portrayal on film of interaction between white and black people together, coexisting authentically. And that's why, I mean, the authenticity in that movie, that's why I think it's always, that's why I think it's forever a classic, because of that. Because there's something There's some about that, and another one that reminds me of that is with Bronx
Um,
Tale.
Bronx Tale. Yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah.
sort of reminds me of that, like just a snapshot in history of what it was like between whites and blacks during a time period. You know, there's certain films that capture that nicely, and
Hmm.
that's one of them on the reverse side from a black director's perspective.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
it's so honest too, because each character you go through phases of defending them, liking them, and then something happens, and you're like, I don't know if I like this guy anymore. Like
yeah.
everything, it's just everything about it is wonderful, and it's the funny parts are like hysterical too. They're the scene where the white guy on the bike smudges Bugging Out's sneakers.
Oh my, wait,
It's
because I haven't seen it in maybe like 8, 9, maybe 10 years.
yeah, it's he's like this white guy wearing a Larry Bird jersey, which is like
Oh, you
just
know,
a
like
hilarious detail.
I'm aware of the shoes. I'm aware of the scene too.
Yeah,
And
it,
the nuancery of it, I can't sound fuzzy. I do have to go back and do the right thing, you know?
if you wanna borrow it, I got it.
I ca- I just redid my DVD collection today, as a matter of fact. So I was like, I'm gonna bring these back upstairs and probably end up going through them and watch them because I've been doing this, and I'm so not caught up because my mind has been elsewhere. But I love number 4, Tim McDermott. Give me a number 3.
Here's your number 3. All right,
Yeah.
The Lobster by Yorgos Lanthimos.
Son of a bitch! I haven't gotten to see that yet
You haven't seen?
either.
All right. So I
I know,
saw that.
I know how good it's supposed to be. It comes highly recommended.
It's great, but it's great for like 20 people, I would say, and then nobody else is going to enjoy this movie.
Well, one of the people who was on here already is the person who mentioned it, and I think talked about another one of his other films, and we spoke of him. I think so. It's maybe more than you think. Film buffs in general, I think, or people who enjoy film, I think might like The Lobster. Might be more people out there than you think, but I know it's a little bit, left to center.
It's out there. It's like, so I saw it at the Kirby Center when they do like when they replay recent movies, and it was an audience of like me, my girlfriend, and like 10 elderly people.
Oh,
And
geez.
it did not do well in that movie theater.
I can't imagine. Yeah, that's a tough crowd right there.
It did not. I was like, we were dying laughing the whole time, because it's like, it's one of those movies. It's like, I kind of think about it like Airplane, where
Mm-hmm.
not in the style of humor, but like it kind of changes your mind about what could be funny.
What could be funny? Yeah.
Could be funny, and like like comedies nowadays, I feel like you go to see a comedy, it's a comedy, and the people in it sort of are aware that it's supposed to be funny.
Right, exactly. Well,
You
an
know what I mean?
actor's tool bag. This is coming from an actor's perspective. So, yeah, you go to that fucking tool bag.
You go to the tool bag, and there's beats and there's things like
Right,
that. But
exactly.
The Lobster was as if like nobody told them it was a comedy. It's played like
Very straight.
dead straight serious. It's hard to tell what is a joke in this movie.
That's a very difficult thing to pull off. And if it is
Absolutely.
something that was pulled off, then I think it would definitely be something that I would enjoy. It sort of reminds me of a film that I watched that I loved that other people really hated, and it was a really divisive film, Hereditary. And I
didn't see that one.
It's an excellent movie, but I referred it, and my friend hated it. But to me, the reason I liked it so much had nothing to do with the fact with the horror and Toni Collette's performance or this or that. It took itself very seriously. The last act of the film Hereditary, some people would walk out of it and be like, that just ruined the movie. But for me, I was like, no. And the fact that they went full steam ahead anyway and leaned into it made it all the better. But it just goes to show that some people walk out of it. Even when I recommended it to him, I was like, you're going to hate this movie. And then the next day, he's like, I normally respect your right. He's like, I hated it. So I totally see that. I mean, that's a hard thing to try to even achieve, and I could totally respect it when someone does get that right. You know what I mean?
It works. It works. And I was watching Connor McGuigan's episode with you, and he mentioned like Anchorman and Wet Hot American Summer, and not that like The Lobster is anything like that, but in a way they're similar because they like set the tone and they don't deviate from that tone the
Right.
entire time, and that's tough. That's like you said, it's really hard to maintain a tone.
Well,
And
that director, what's his name again?
Yorgos Lanthimos.
Yeah. I mean, there's other films of his that I have seen and enjoyed. I can't. There's no way to prepare for these things because I don't know what films people are gonna say. But he's definitely somebody to watch out for, and he's definitely somebody to go and dig into if you're a filmmaker, film buff, someone who appreciates things, because he's out there, but in a good way, in a palatable way. You know, he's not like, it's not like, oh, look at my fucking Shmilov Shurgov's fucking jack off shit. Look at this pile of sperm that I'm getting to.
No, it's not like that.
No. But I want to see it. So I don't want any spoilers. The Lobster has already come highly recommended. I want to see it. But continue on. I know we're not flying through. I mean, we're on like 20 some minutes or so, but you know.
Oh, geez. All right. So this one, obviously, this is going to be a well-known movie. This is my number 2. And in my life, this is my number 2 movie. Mary Poppins.
Wow.
Which, if you haven't seen it recently, revisit it.
Listen, I was just leaving Graham's house, and his Uncle Joe, who has Down syndrome, watches Netflix with headphones on, and the next thing coming up was Mary Poppins, and I sat there for the first 15 minutes and watched it. And I have seen it, you know, a whole bunch. This was like 3 days ago, and I was like, and we were speaking about how Mary Poppins, and I saw the new one too, and I was like, it's funny how they still can't hold the candle to the old Mary Poppins.
Right? Yeah. You know what? Actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because the old Mary Poppins and the new Mary Poppins, to me, kind of shows what I think is kind of a problem with like kids movies or family-oriented movies, where I feel like new kids movies, like especially Pixar movies, which I like, there's always the last 20 minutes, there's always like a clock that they're racing against.
Sure.
You know, there's always like an adventure that they're running against the clock, you know?
Right.
And like the main character, like, you know, changes his perspective or whatever, but also saving the day or something like that happening. Like it's a big race against time. But like the original Mary Poppins, there's none of that. The biggest event is just the father changes his perspective on how to be a father. And it's so simple and it's so elementary that like,
well, the thing is, this, in the defense, to play devil's advocate, the new one didn't have that option of being magical, because it was the first adaptation of the book. So they already knew that they were a name. So the only thing they had to do was maybe create some sort of device otherwise to just create something around Mary Poppins, which was already created.
Right. Yeah.
But still, just the way that as 2 separate films, the original, there's the pacing of it, everything about it is better, because they didn't have the luxuries of what we had today, and then that's what you present us with. It's like, oh, we're gonna restylize it, and it's like, I hate when I do that shit, 'cause it's like I think the effects in the original Mary Poppins look better. They just look better to me. Do you know what I mean?
They look better. You could like, you still see that it's handmade, you know, like you still look at it and you wonder how they did it.
Right.
And it's not just like, oh, they had CGI, you know, like they had to figure out how to make Dick Van Dyke dance with penguins.
Right.
Right.
And do it well.
Exactly.
And win an Oscar for it, you know. Is it something? Is it because
that year?
Yeah. Oh God. Well, yeah. Is it because it was something that is from when you were a kid? I mean, is it tied into the young Tim McDermott?
I mean, yeah, it was a big formative years movie, I think, for me. And for a long time when I was a kid, I think anytime I was sick and I had to stay home, I would watch Mary Poppins.
See,
So it's very comforting.
I was more of a bed knobs and broomsticks sort of kid as opposed to
All right, all right.
but it's the same vein. I watched both, but like bed knobs and broomsticks to me, because my father introduced me to it, so it was sort of it has that little extra edge over Mary Poppins. But bed knobs and broomsticks,
Right.
yeah, yeah, and of course, and that's funny. It's high up there on your list, and it speaks to the little boy in you. I love it. I love
Absolutely.
it. All right, so with the,
Definitely my favorite Disney movie, I would say. That and like Flight of the Navigator are probably like the top two Disney movies.
I've never seen Flight of the Navigator.
That's a good one. It's like a early 80s, I think, early 80s sci-fi movie. Family sci-fi. And again, there's like the stakes in it are very low. It's very much just like the boy just has to like learn a lesson.
See, I'm
about
like
life.
you.
And
I like low stakes oftentimes more so. Like there's who's the guy who makes those character driven movies? Is it Mike Lee or one of them? Another Year.
Yeah, Mike Lee.
Like I love his type of film. They're just little snapshots of people's lives that go on, and they're intertwinings. And there's no stakes. The only stakes are what might happen amongst the characters. There's no, again, I hate to overuse the word device, but that's what they are. There's no tool
Right.
intertwined. He just what the characters create themselves. So Mike Lee, yeah, a lot of his films I enjoy because he takes his time with character, with the character.
I think a lot of his movies, I don't know how much they are anymore, but a lot of his older ones, he just would cast them, have the cast improvise in character, and would develop the script just from the improvisations.
You're right. He spent like a year. It was a long process he spent with these people. Yeah. Oh yeah. To work on one of his films, it was like they like lived with them and shit. But I'll tell you what, the product, Leslie, what's that? Leslie, one of the actresses, I forget her name, but she was in another year. Manville. Thank you. Leslie Manville is such a brilliant actress. And the quality of work you get out of her in his films, you know who else did that? There's Blue Valentine. Have you ever seen the film Blue Valentine?
Yeah.
With that they filmed in Scranton with
yeah, right.
They filmed good portions of it downtown. It's hard to watch. The director of Blue Valentine had Ryan Reynolds and Michelle Williams live together for a year, and he would have him get drunk and like proposition her for sex, and he would instigate these little arguments. In that film, the product is one of the hardest things to watch. I always say I'll watch. It was one of the best movies I've ever seen. It was great. It was brilliant. But if you're with your girlfriend or your boyfriend, watch it alone. Don't watch it with your significant others by any means.
Right, yeah.
No.
I went to go see 12 Years a Slave by myself in the movie theaters, which is like, that's even worse than going to see it with somebody else. I had to run out of the movie theater because I was like crying, audibly sobbing at the end of that movie. So I was like running out.
Someone to spread that weight of,
right. So it can backfire.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, there are certain movies you have to watch alone, and there are certain movies that I loved being in the movies for. Someone brought up Big Fish, that they remembered seeing Big Fish with me in the movies, and then I remembered being in the movies for Big Fish, and the whole audience, it was packed, collectively crying, collectively laughing. I was like, something about being with people, together, feeling the same thing at the same time. That's electric.
Yeah.
Tim, number one before my drunken father's boots hit the steps.
My number one movie. This is my number one movie of all time. All the President's Men.
Wow. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I bring up bed knobs and, okay, so All the President's Men. Tell me why.
Tell me. I'm a huge fan of, and it's like the most subgenre of subgenre, the newspaper thriller. I'm a huge fan of newspaper thrillers, and there's not a lot of them.
Network. It's not a thriller. It's just it's a news piece, I guess.
Yeah, that's a great one. Yeah, but like that, there's like Spotlight. There's what else is there? I feel like there was one that
the
just
Pelican
came out.
Brief.
The Pelican Brief. Anything that has to do with like, hard drinking journalists that are like trying to scrap together a story, I'm in. I'm sold. And All the President's Men is the best one. That's the absolute best one.
See, now that you put it that way, I could totally understand why. Yeah, absolutely. If those are the types of films that really get you, then that would be a good one to get you. So that was right after Watergate, based on the book.
It was so Woodward and Bernstein were in the middle of writing the book when Robert Redford approached them saying, I want to make a movie about this.
Of course.
Finish your book so I could make my movie. and think Robert Redford at like peak of his career. Dustin Hoffman.
Right after The Sting.
Dustin Hoffman's up there. Jason Robards, like having his comeback. Like everybody, there's not a bad note in that whole movie.
Wow. I really
so good.
That. I enjoy your list. See, now this is another reason why I enjoy doing this, because obviously most of the times I haven't seen a lot of the movies that people talk about. And so I can't go back and forth and I found that that's not the best thing to do, is have like a quote session with your friends, because not a lot of people like to watch that. But I'm finding that what it says about the people, because I know everybody I'm interviewing, and then I hear their top 5, and then I equate it to what I think I know about them and see what fits and what's sort of surprising and what's not surprising. And because I had said back in other episodes, before I date you, I'm going to look at you for the first couple DVDs you got going on in your collection.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a good judge of character,
It is, and it's totally like you, because it's mysterious. It's a mysterious top 5 with no rhyme nor reason.
And this was like, I had to really pare down. Like, I'm looking at this at like a Word document on the side of my screen, and I still have like 15 movies underneath that I was like, should I replace it? Should I don't know. There's a lot of them.
This is not so much a show about these films. There are suggestions for people to obviously to go out and watch and whatever, but this is definitely like a little social experiment in like to people's psyches a little bit, because I'm finding it really enjoyable to be. That's why I don't like knowing the guesses. And when my friends say these things like, okay, Mary Poppins, that high on the list.
Absolutely.
Followed by All the President's Men.
Yeah. Nixon and Julie Andrews,
buy that kind of entertainment. Tim McDermott. I should have smoked weed on camera. The hell. You showed up. I show up in space here and throwing Mary Poppins and the Lobster at you. For real though, the Lobster I do have to go and check out. That and Mandy. There are certain things there's a bunch of things on my list. I have a huge list that I have to go and watch myself. We have 10 more of these suckers.
I can't wait. I didn't see Conor O'Brien's, and one other person I didn't see. But so far, they're great suggestions.
It's weird the way the videos are. People get to them, they fall back. Some have 30 views, and I placed them all over the place. And there's other playlists, but they have a bunch of. They're getting around. You know what I mean? So eventually, it'll be a whole playlist of 21 episodes. You know what I mean?
Right.
That will be a thing, but I do appreciate you being a part of it. I hope.
Thanks for asking me. I will take any excuse to talk about movies. So.
I wish we could have delved it out more, but we have a time limit. We gotta stick to that time limit.
That's fine.
You stay safe. You send my best to your girlfriend, and
I will.
Until I see you next time, say goodbye to the people out there in the land.
Bye, everybody. Wash your hands.
Yeah, wash your hands and stay tuned. Yeah, smart ass.